So good morning students. So in today's class I'll be taking the topic that is hernia. So what is hernia now? So hernia, it is protrusion of an organ. Okay, hernia is an protrusion of an organ or muscular wall of an organ. Okay, or muscular wall of an organ through the cavity. Okay, through the cavity that normally contains it. Okay, that normally contains it. So a hernia is a protrusion of an organ. Okay, hernia is a protrusion of an organ or the muscular wall of an organ. Okay, hernia, it is a protrusion of an organ or muscular wall of an organ. Okay, muscular wall of an organ that usually the organ through the cavity that normally contains it. Okay, through the cavity that normally contains it. So it is an abnormal protrusion of the intestine. Okay, it is the abnormal protrusion of the intestine or other abdominal organ. Okay, or other abdominal organ through a weakness or defect in the musculature into the another cavity. Okay, through a defect or weakness in the musculature into the another cavity. So what is that? Hernia is a protrusion of an organ. Okay, hernia is a protrusion of an organ or muscular wall of an organ through the cavity that normally contains it. So this is an abnormal protrusion of the intestine or other abdominal organs. Okay, it is abnormal protrusion of intestine or other abdominal organs into another cavity. Okay, into another cavity. Okay, into another cavity. So it is usually about this hernia. So it is usually seen. So next is different classification of hernia. Okay, so next is different classification of hernia. So in that there are different hernias are classified into different according to their anatomical location. Okay, hernia are classified into different things according to anatomical location. So the first is inguinal hernia. The first is inguinal hernia. So what is this inguinal hernia? So inguinal hernia occurs in the groin. Okay, so inguinal hernia occurs in the groin. So that is the area between the abdomen and the thigh. Okay, so that is usually inguinal hernia occurs in the groin. So that is the area between the abdomen and the thigh. Okay, abdomen and the thigh. So therefore it is usually called as inguinal hernia. Okay, it is usually called as inguinal hernia because the intestines push through a weak spot. Okay, the intestine push through a weak spot that is in the inguinal canal. Okay, that is in the inguinal canal and it usually forms a triangle shape. Okay, it usually forms a triangle shape between the layers of abdominal muscles. Okay, between the layers of abdominal muscles near the groin. Okay, abdominal muscles near the groin. So it is inguinal hernia. It is usually seen that the hernia occurs in the groin region, that is the area between the abdomen and the thigh. So this is called as inguinal because it forms this intestine usually push through a weak spot in the inguinal canal, which is usually a triangle shape. Which is usually a triangle shape opening between the layers of abdominal muscles. Okay, opening between the layers of abdominal muscles near the groin. So what are the causes of this inguinal hernia? Obesity, pregnancy, heavy lifting, or straining to pass stools. Okay, straining to pass stools. So these are the causes of this inguinal hernia. So inguinal hernia usually occurs in the groin region, that is the area between the abdomen and the thigh region. So this is called as inguinal because the intestines pushes into the weak spot in the inguinal canal and it forms the layers of the it forms a triangle shape and it is formed opening between the layers of abdominal muscles near the groin. So the causes, it can be obesity, pregnancy, heavy lifting, straining to pass stools. Okay, straining to pass stools, it can be the cause for this inguinal hernia. So next is femoral hernia. So what is this femoral hernia? So femoral hernia occurs in the area between the abdomen and the thigh. Okay, it also occurs in the area between the abdomen and the thighs. Appears as bulge. Okay, it usually appears as bulge on the upper thigh. Okay, so it usually appears bulge on the upper thigh. So this usually occurs below the inguinal ligament. Okay, it usually occurs below the inguinal ligament. So this femoral hernia, it is common in the women. Okay, it is usually common in the women who are pregnant or obese. Who are pregnant or obese. So it is femoral hernia occurs in the area between the abdomen and the thigh. Okay, femoral hernia occurs in the area between the abdomen and the thigh and appears as a bulge in the thigh. Okay, appears as the bulge as if it is bulged near the thigh. So this is commonly occurs in women who are pregnant and obese, and it usually occurs below the inguinal ligament. So that is femoral hernia. So next is umbilical hernia. So umbilical hernia occurs in the abdominal wall. Okay, umbilical hernia occurs in the abdominal wall, which is weakened at the abdominal wall. Okay, which is weakened at the point of the abdominal wall. Okay, it is weakened at the point of the abdominal wall. So in this part of the small intestine passes through the abdominal wall near the navel. Okay, so part or some parts like part of the small intestine passes near the abdominal wall or passes through the abdominal wall near the navel. So umbilical hernia are most common in children. Okay, umbilical hernia are most common in children. That is that umbilical hernia. So an umbilical hernia occurs when the umbilical wall is weakened. Okay, it occurs when the umbilical wall is weakened. So it is usually a part of the small intestine enters through the umbilical or abdominal wall of near the navel. This is commonly seen in children. So next is incisional hernia. So incisional hernia, the intestine pushes through the abdominal wall. Okay, the intestine pushes through the abdominal wall at the site of previous abdominal surgery. Okay, this incisional hernia occurs when there is previous abdominal surgery. So at that site, the intestine pushes into the abdominal wall. So this is usually common in elderly people. Okay, this is usually commonly in elderly people or overweight people who are inactive after abdominal surgery. Okay, who are inactive after abdominal surgery. So this is common in most common in the elderly people or overweight people who are inactive after abdominal surgery. So incisional hernia occurs in those individuals like who had previous abdominal surgery, and here usually it occurs where intestine passes through the abdominal wall at the site of previous abdominal surgery. At the site of previous abdominal surgery. So that is incisional hernia. So next is hiatal hernia. Okay, next is hiatal hernia. So hiatal hernia forms a small opening in the diaphragm. Okay, hiatal hernia forms a small opening in the diaphragm through which the esophagus passes. Okay, through which the esophagus passes and allows the upper part of the stomach to acid to flow back through the opening. So it forms in this hiatal hernia. It forms an opening in the diaphragm. So through that esophagus passes and it allows the acid to flow back from the upper part of the stomach into the opening. So that is hiatal hernia. So next is epigastric hernia. So epigastric hernia, this type results due to the weakness of the muscles in the upper middle abdomen. That is usually occurs a weakness in the upper middle abdomen, that is above navel. Okay, so it usually occurs when there is weakness in the upper middle abdomen, that is above the navel. So that is usually about this epigastric hernia. So next is ventral hernia. So this type of hernia occurs when scar tissue weakens the abdominal wall. Okay, scar tissue weakens the abdominal wall. So it is following surgical operation or any trauma. Okay, it occurs following any surgical operation or any trauma. So it is ventral hernia. So ventral hernia occurs when when the scar tissue weakens the abdominal wall. Okay, when the scar tissue weakens the abdominal wall, such as following any surgery or any trauma. So next is obturator hernia. Okay, next is obturator hernia. So it occurs when the part of the intestine passes through the gap between the bones of the front of the pelvis. So that is usually when there is this part of this intestine passes when there is gap in the bones of the pelvis. When there is gap in the bones of the pelvis. So that is obturator hernia. So that is which occurs when the part of the intestine passes into the gap of the between the bones of the pelvis. So that is usually about this thing. So next is usually about this different types of hernia. So there are different types of hernia like inguinal hernia, femoral hernia, hiatal hernia, umbilical hernia, incisional hernia, epigastric hernia, ventral hernia and obturator hernia. So these are usually the different types of hernia. So next is causes and risk factors. So what might be the causes for this hernia? So it can be, I have told you previously, it might be obesity, pregnancy, heavy lifting, or if there is any surgery, okay, abdominal surgery if it is there, or if they are having constipation, okay, if they are having constipation, ascites and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, okay, if they are having chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or if there is any family history of hernia. Okay, if there is any family history of hernia, so that is usually there. And in case of smoking, so that is usually, so causes it can be like heavy lifting, obesity, pregnancy, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or constipation if they had, or if they are having ascites, a family history of hernia, or smoking. So that is usually about this causes of this hernia. We will continue. That is usually we saw regarding the causes. So causes it can be like obesity, pregnancy, any family history of hernia, weightlifting or heavy lifting, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, constipation, smoking, or poor nutrition. These are usually the causes of this hernia. So this is diagnostic. So diagnosis, we go with complete blood count. Okay, we go with complete blood count. Urine analysis will be done. Ultrasonography will be done. Chest radiography will be done, and CT scan will be done. So this one, diagnostic test, we go with complete blood count, radiography, CT scan, ultrasonography, as well as urine analysis will be done. So next is management. So management, we go with laparoscopy or hernia repair surgery. Okay, we go with laparoscopy and hernia repair surgery. So in case of hernia repair surgery, so this is usually a surgical procedure to return the organ which is protruded. Okay, to return the organ which is protruded to its original position. Okay, so that is to return the organ which is protruded to its original position. Okay, to its original position. So that is usually about this thing. So normally they are usually two types. One is herniorrhaphy. So herniorrhaphy, it is used for simple hernias. Okay, herniorrhaphy, it is usually used for simple hernia. The intestines are returned to their proper place. Okay, the intestines are returned to their proper place. And hernioplasty, it is used for large hernias. In this procedure, a plastic or steel mesh, okay, plastic or steel mesh is added to the abdominal wall to repair and reinforce the weak spot. Okay, so in this usually what is that? So mainly, so in this what is happening? So it is herniorrhaphy. It is used for simple hernias where like the intestine or the intestine are returned to their original place. Okay, it is returned to their original place. And next is hernioplasty. In this, a small like a plastic or steel mesh will be attached to the abdominal wall. It is added to the abdominal wall to repair. Okay, it is added to the abdominal wall to repair. So it is management is mainly but hernia repair surgery. Okay, it is usually hernia repair surgery. So in this hernia repair, it is usually a surgical procedure in which the organ is returned to the organ which is protruded is returned to its original position. So this is usually done under two. One is herniorrhaphy, the hernioplasty. In this herniorrhaphy, it is usually used for like it is used for simple hernias. Okay, it is used for simple hernias where the intestine are returned to its original position. Whereas in hernioplasty, a plastic or steel mesh will be added to the abdominal wall to repair. So next is laparoscopy. So laparoscopy is a surgical procedure for hernia which is treated with the help of fibro-optic viewing tube. Okay, it is like repaired by using fibro-optic viewing tube and special instruments to repair the hernia without making any incision. Okay, without making any incision. So that is usually laparoscopic. It is usually like repair of the hernia is done by using fibro-optic viewing tube, and in this usually done without making large incision. Okay, so this is about this management where we go with hernia repair surgery and laparoscopy. Okay, where we go with hernia repair surgery as well as laparoscopy. So that is usually in case of mild symptoms. Okay, in case of mild symptoms, they go with supportive truss. Okay, they go with supportive truss. So this is usually helpful for making the hernia to reduce the hernia. Okay, supportive truss is used to make the hernia to reduce. So that is usually about this in case of mild symptoms. So this is about this management of hernia. So hernia, it is nothing but protrusion of an organ from the weak spot. Okay, protrusion of an organ to the weak spot. So especially the intestine enters into the weak spot. So that is usually about this hernia. So hernia, it is usually an abnormal protrusion of the intestines. Okay, it is usually an abnormal protrusion of the intestine. Okay, it is usually abnormal protrusion of the intestine into the weaker organ. Okay, into the weaker organ. So that is usually about this hernia. So that is next topic. It is fistula. So what is fistula? So fistula, it is an abnormal connection between the organ or intestine to another structure. Okay, so that is usually a connection between an organ vessel or intestine to another structure. Okay, to another structure. So this usually results due to it is usually the result of surgery or injury. Okay, it is usually a result of surgery or injury. So that is usually that. It can also be result of infection infection and inflammation. Okay, it can also be the result of infection and inflammation. So fistula is usually an abnormal connection between an organ vessel or intestine to another structure. So fistula can result due to surgery or injury, or it can be result due to infection or inflammation. So fistulas can be blind, incomplete, complete, horseshoe. Okay, that is fistulas can be blind, incomplete, complete and horseshoe. So what is this blind fistula? So blind fistula will be open on one end. Okay, it will be open on one end, but it connects to the structures. Okay, it connects to the structure. So blind, it is usually seen that it will be open on one end and it connects to the other structures. And then complete, it is that it has both external and internal openings. Okay, it has both external and internal openings. So next is horseshoe. So horseshoe, it is usually connecting the anus to the surface of the skin. Okay, connecting the anus to the surface of the skin. And incomplete, so at least it has opening closed on the inside. Okay, it is usually closed on the inside, but does not connect with any other structure. Okay, but does not connect with any other structure. So fistulas may be blind, complete, incomplete and horseshoe. So blind, open on one end, connects to the other structure. Complete has both external and internal openings, and horseshoe connects the anus to the surface of the skin, and then incomplete or closed at the inside, but that it will not be connected to any other structure. So next is types of fistula. So fistulas often occur in the area around the genitals and anus. That is, it usually occurs in the perineum. So there are usually different types of fistulas. There are 4 different types of fistulas. So first is enterocutaneous. Okay, the first is enterocutaneous. So in this, usually what happens, the fistula is formed from the intestine to the skin. Okay, the fistula is formed from the intestine to the skin. So this might be due to the complication of surgery. So fistula, that is enterocutaneous fistula, occurs when there is fistula occurs within the intestine to the skin, and it occurs due to complication of surgery. So next is enterocentric or enterocolic. So this is the fistula that involves large or small intestine. Okay, this is the fistula which involves large or small intestine. That is enterocentric or enterocolic. Okay, so enterocentric or enterocolic. So this usually occurs, or it involves large or small intestine. So next is enterovaginal. Enterovaginal, so this fistula goes into the vagina. Okay, this is a fistula that goes into the vagina. So enterovaginal, this is a fistula that goes to the vagina. So next is entrovesicular. So this is fistula which goes into the bladder. Okay, this fistula usually goes into the bladder. So this usually occurs due to frequent UTI. So it usually occurs due to frequent UTI. So that is usually the different types of fistula. That is enterocutaneous, enterocentric or enterocentric or enterocolic, enterovaginal, entrovesicular. Enterocutaneous occurs from intestine to skin, and enterocentric or enterocolic involves large or small intestine. Next is enterovaginal, it goes into the vagina. Entrovesicular goes into the bladder, that occurs due to continuous UTI. So what are the causes for this fistula? So causes, it might be due to any infection or abscess, or it might be due to negligence of treatment during piles. Okay, if they are treating piles and carelessly if they are treating the piles patient, then that time they can develop this anal abscess. Okay, if there is anal abscess, or due to improper drainage of the abscess. Okay, improper drainage of the abscess. So fistula occurs due to infection or abscess, or negligence or lack of treatment in piles, Crohn's disease, or in case of cancer, in case of anal abscess, or in case of inappropriate drainage of the abscess. So that is usually causes of fistula. Next is clinical symptoms. Clinical symptoms, usually what happens, they will be having pain around the anus, fever, itching, tenderness, loss of appetite, weight loss, nausea and vomiting, or they will be having foul smell discharge. They will be having foul smell discharge. So that is irritation around the skin, pain, fever, itching, tenderness, loss of appetite, weight loss, nausea and vomiting, and also it may drain foul smell discharge. So that is usually the clinical symptoms of this fistula. So that is irritation around the skin, pain, fever, itching, tenderness, loss of appetite, weight loss, nausea and vomiting, and foul smell discharge. So that is usually about this symptoms of fistulas. So next is diagnostic evaluation. So diagnostic evaluation occurs, like what are the diagnostic evaluation that we have to do is that physical examination of the anus. Okay, physical examination of the anus. Rectal examination will be done. Barium enema examination will be done. Colonoscopy, sigmoidoscopy, fistulography. So it is usually physical examination of the anus, colonoscopy, sigmoidoscopy, fistulography, barium enema, and rectal examination. Okay, so these are usually the examinations that is usually done in case of diagnosing fistulas. So what is management? So treatment of the fistulas depend upon the severity and location of the fistula. So medicinal treatment that we go, it is at administering Fagile, okay, administering Fagile, or it can administer like 6 mercaptopurine, okay, or 6 mercaptopurine or Remicade. So treatment, it depends upon the location of the fistula or severity of the fistula symptoms. So mainly the medication that we go, it is Fagile or 6 mercaptopurine or Remicade. So this is the medication that is usually given. And then an enteral diet, and that is liquid nutrition is given, okay, liquid nutrition is given, which is usually given through mouth, okay, which is usually given through mouth. So that is usually about this medical management. There you go, medications and proper diet will be given, that is liquid diet should be given for the patient. So next is surgical management. Surgical management, when medical treatment is not responding, okay, when medical treatment is not responding, then we go with the surgical management, that we go with fistulotomy, okay, we go with fistulotomy. This is the common treatment for fistula, where it is a surgical procedure where the surgeon makes an incision in the fistular tract, okay, the surgeon makes an incision in the fistular tract, opens it up and merges it with anal canal. So it is surgeon makes an incision in the fistular tract, opens it up and merges it with the anal canal. So that is surgical management. So that is fistulotomy. So it is a common procedure that is done in which the surgeon makes an incision in the fistular tract, opens it up and merges with the anal canal. So it is usually about this surgical management, that is fistulotomy will be done. Next, so this is about this fistula. So fistula, it is nothing but it is a connection between the organs. It is a connection between the organ that usually results in, that usually occurs in the due to infection or inflammation, or it occurs due to injury or surgery. It is an abnormal connection between the organs. Okay, abnormal connection between the organs. So next is fissure. So what is this fissure? So anal, it is usually a tear or cut in the skin. Okay, fissure, it is nothing but a tear or cut in the skin. So if it is occurring, like if anal fissures occur, so anal fissures in this, there will be tear or cut in the skin that causes pain or causing a painful ulcer, okay, causing a painful ulcer at the margin of the anus. Okay, so that is usually a tear or cut in the skin that lines the anus. Okay, it is tear or cut in the skin that lines the anus, causing a painful ulcer at the anus. Okay, at the anus. So that is usually there. So fissure, it is nothing but a cut or tear in the skin. So if it is occurring like anal fissures, if it has occurred, so there will be a tear or cut in the skin that lines the anus, causing a painful ulcer in the anal region. So that is usually there in this thing. So next is, so these are usually this usually occurs in the midline, top or bottom of the anus. It usually occurs in the midline, top or bottom of the anus. It usually occurs in the midline, top or bottom of the anus. So that is usually about this thing. So is this causes? So causes, it can be like they will be having large or hard stools passing the anal, large or hard stools passing the anal canal. Constipation will be there, and straining during bowel movements. Okay, straining during bowel movements, diarrhea, anal sex, pain during anal sex, childbirth, pain, when they are doing this anal sex, or childbirth, anorectal surgery, in case of anorectal surgery, proctitis or low fiber diet. So causes, it can be large or hard stools passing through the anus, constipation, straining during bowel movements, diarrhea, anal sex, childbirth, anorectal surgery, proctitis or low fiber diet. So what is that? Causes, it might be a large or hard stool passing the anus, diarrhea, straining the bowel movement, constipation, anal sex, childbirth, anorectal surgery, proctitis or low fiber diet. So what might be the other causes? It can be due to vitamin 6 deficiency. It can be due to vitamin 6 deficiency, or in case of inflammatory bowel disease. Other causes, it might be due to vitamin 6 deficiency, or it might be due to inflammatory bowel diseases. Okay, in case of inflammatory bowel diseases, HIV, tuberculosis, cancer. Okay, the other causes for this fissures, it might be vitamin 6 deficiency, inflammatory bowel diseases, HIV, tuberculosis and cancer. So these are usually the causes of this fissures. So that is, it might be large or hard stool, diarrhea, straining during bowel movements, constipation, childbirth, anal sex, proctitis, any anorectal surgery, or in case of low fiber diet. The other causes, it can be vitamin 6 deficiency, tuberculosis, HIV, cancer, or inflammatory bowel disease. So this is about the causes of this fissures. A fissure is nothing but a cut or tear in the skin. So what are the symptoms? Symptoms: pain during and after defecation. Okay, pain during or after defecation. Bleeding will be there. Pain will be very sharp pain. Okay, the pain will be very sharp pain even when there is bowel movement. Okay, when there is bowel movement. So that is usually there. Then a spot of blood can be seen in the tissue paper. Okay, toilet tissue paper. Okay, that is spot of blood will be seen in the toilet tissue paper. Then itching will be there. Okay, itching will be there. And also visible crack in the skin. Okay, a visible crack in the skin, that is around the anus. A visible crack will be seen around the anus. A visible crack will be seen around the anus. So that is usually the symptoms that is usually associated with fissure. So what are the symptoms that is usually associated with fissure? It is that, so normally pain, bleeding, and also they can see a cut in the skin, and then there will be itching. Spot on pain will be very sharp during bowel movements. Spot of blood will be seen in the toilet tissue. So that is the symptoms of this fissures. So diagnosis, it is mainly by inspection, and then they can go with anal manometry. Okay, anal manometry, sigmoidoscopy and colonoscopy. Okay, the diagnosis, we go with anal manometry, sigmoidoscopy and colonoscopy. So that is diagnosis, we go with anometry, anal manometry, sigmoidoscopy and colonoscopy. So next is management. Medical management, we go with giving them high fiber rich diet, stool softeners will be given, plenty of fluids will be given to them. So that is normally management. Medical management, we go with like medical management. So management, we go with like medical management, high fiber rich diet will be given, fluids will be given, stool softeners will be given. Then warm bath for every 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, this should be taken for several times. So warm bath for every 10 to 20 minutes, and it should be done for several times. So that is usually done. Then painkillers can be given, like paracetamol can be given, and local anesthetic ointments can be applied around the fissure. Local anesthetic ointments can be applied near the fissure to reduce the pain, and nitroglycerin applied locally twice. Okay, nitroglycerin applied locally twice for every day for 6 weeks. Okay, nitroglycerin can be applied locally for twice for 6 weeks. Okay, so that is usually about this medical management. So medical management, we go with high fiber rich diet. Next, stool softeners will be given, plenty of fluids. Okay, plenty of fluids to help to relieve constipation. Next, warm bath should be given for 10 to 20 minutes several times. Then they can go with giving them painkillers such as paracetamol. Then they go with applying ointments, that is local anesthesia, that is 2% of lignocaine can be applied to reduce pain. Then nitroglycerin can be used twice for 6 weeks. Okay, so that is usually about this medical management. Surgical management, it is mainly we go with internal sphincterotomy. Okay, we go with sphincterotomy. So internal sphincterotomy will be done. So where a small portion of the inner muscle around the anus. So it is by cut. Okay, the small portion of the inner muscle around the anus will be cut. So it is usually done under general anesthesia. Okay, it is usually done under general anesthesia. That is usually internal sphincterotomy. Okay, internal sphincterotomy, where a small portion of the skin will be cut in the intestine. So this is done under general anesthesia. So this is about this fissure. Fissure, it is nothing but a cut or tear around the anus, or the skin of the anus which lines the anus. So that is usually about this fissures.